All right, Dr. Shankopotamus here. We're working on the 2008 Ducati 848. Time for an oil change, springtime. Time to get this thing back out and start running around on it. Yeah, you may be tough from the light. I do need to clean the front end there. Got a bug on the front of it, but it's all good. So this is the first time I've changed the oil, but I got a filter K&N ready to go here. All right. K&N 153. Also have some liquid moly. I use this on pretty much everything now. The BMWs, the Porsche. I just put it in all the cars now. So 15W50. And we'll go ahead and get this thing rolling. Another little aside, it is springtime. And for those of you in the future, if you come back and listen to this, we're in the middle of a coronavirus COVID pandemic, which is kind of a crazy time to be living through, but thought a little quarantine time, I'll go ahead and change out the oil and get ready to roll on this thing. Also, hopefully my voice will last through this. Got a little sore throat this morning. I am Dr. Shankopotamus, so with the work I've been doing, you know, I'm taking care of these people, not quite every day, but almost every day, and so hopefully I didn't catch it myself yet. But anyway, we're going to get to work on this Ducati here. We'll start by taking the fairing off of both sides. Get down in there. It should be pretty straightforward. Like I said, I haven't done it on this bike yet, but I changed a lot of oil, done a lot of work. This thing should be pretty easy. So let's go ahead and get this thing rolling. All right, so the first thing, the first thing you want to do, let me show you, is start it up, run it, get it warmed up. The oil will drain much quicker when it's warmed up. Let me zoom out of here. Get it up onto a stand where you can work on it. If you got a lift to put it on, that's fine too, but I've got a rear stand for it that gets it up. I'm hoping this is going to be level enough to get the oil right, but of course when we start to fill it up, we'll see. You've got these little hex bolts on here, or hex screws on here that are holding your fairing on, and you want to go across both sides, take all those off, and then carefully take your fairing off. So first step, let's get the fairing off, get a location on the oil filter, and then we'll go from there. Alrighty. Okay, so if you haven't done this before, I'm going to assume that you haven't taken these fairings, or the fairing pieces off your bike. Once you take the obvious bolts off on the outside here, little aluminum bolts are tight, maybe they're titanium, I don't know. Anyway, kind of lightweight little things. You'll notice that if you try to remove the fairing, if you don't look up underneath where your radiator is, let me zoom in. There you go. So this is right above the wheel, top part of the fairing. You got 3 screws. So you got 2 choices with this. I prefer to take the screws off and just leave that one piece hanging. It's a little bit easier. That's really just like a cover inside of there, all right? But as you go inside, if you look up underneath, this cover is popped into there with these little plastic rivets that you can put one of the non-marring tools up inside of there, pop those rivets off from the inside if you wanted to, and then this black kind of insulating piece would come off with your fairing. Also up towards the front, as you start to take it off, I don't want to crawl up under there and try to show you. It's pretty obvious. I can show you on the fairing piece if you want. There is another screw that's up underneath here. So once you undo the obvious screws on here, and this thing does not want to come off, don't just start tugging. It's not like it's just caught on something that's going to come off. You'll break it. It's going to tear off. Once you have all the screws undone properly, it just easily lifts right off. A couple of things. Be sure you don't lose the, can you see those on this? Yeah, you can see those. The plastic kind of spacers that are here for the vibration. I've had to replace those once because when I was working on the battery support down here, and let me zoom out, put a newer upgraded battery support in there and a new battery years ago. I did actually lose a couple of these little guys because they can fall off and go rolling around. Also, there's a little plastic piece that's on the screw that helps protect the paint. And you just want to make sure you keep up with those. This little plastic washer is what it is. See if we can get a picture. There you go. So those little plastic guys, be sure you don't lose those either, because then your small screw here, then these screws will start to damage your paint. You'll get scratching of your paint underneath there. Alrighty, so I'm going to head on over to the other side. We'll take the other side off. At least according to the manual, I have the Ducati manual, and reviewing through it said take both sides off before you work on the oil. So I bet when this is done, you might be able to do this by taking just one side off, but I'm going to do what they said, take both sides off, and probably the lower fairing, I think, as well has come off. So let me get the other side off, and we'll see what we got. Okay, so we're looking at the right-hand side of the bike here, and I'm going to say, although the manual said you need to take off all of the fairing to get access, I honestly think that you could just undo the bottom row of screws on the upper fairing, this part that we've taken off completely over here. Split the lower fairing so you can get this drain out from your radiator drain. And then I think your filter is sitting right here. I think you could probably access it a lot easier that way. Not have to take the upper fairing off at all if all you're after is the oil filter. I don't know, I would say if I was doing this again, then all I'm after is the oil filter. I say taking the lower fairing off is all you need. I said, even though the manual and some online how-tos and everything said take all the fairing off, and then here's how you access it. But anyway, so you can do it however you want. If you want to get the fairing off, and then you can clean it, and you can make sure everything in your bike is in order and cleaned up and doing okay. But so we're going to go after, obviously, oil filter, so that makes it pretty easy to tell what we're dealing with. So we're going to go after the drain, which should be up and underneath, So let me pull out the manual, go hunting for the drain. There we go. I can feel it right there. So on the opposite side, I'll come around and get a shot of it. You can feel the drain right there. And we'll pull that puppy out. Let me just get around there and show you. All right, so I'm going to start and pan down so y'all can tell where I'm looking on the left-hand side of the bike. Again, I don't think you really need to take all this off. I'm going to get the kickstand up out of the way here, okay? And then you come up underneath, right-hand side, just past the muffler. There's going to be your drain. Now, this cover, the manual, I'm not going to do it this time. This is just the second time I've ever changed oil. I think only has 5,000 miles on it after all these years. But they recommend pulling this and replacing the gasket that's inside of there. There's a filter inside of there, large kind of oblong or cylindrical type shaped filter. They recommend every second oil change, every third oil change. I've seen before. Pull that out, clean it, new O-ring, then you put a new gasket with gasket maker seal around it, and then put it back up. So, but I'm just going to go after, because this bike has so few miles on it, I'm just going to go after my oil drain plug, get the oil drained out, and then we'll refill and see how it looks. Alrighty, here we go. Let's see if I can get this in here. There you go. Put it in there for you. So this is the plug. It's a 5mm. Pull this over. There you go. Little 5mm plug. Washer. Not a bad idea. You're supposed to always replace these little compression washers. I've got a bunch of them. I probably got one that size. If not, the manual recommends replace it. I'm going to put it back in there because I think it'll tighten down just fine. It's not distorted or anything. But the reason I'm showing you this, I'll show you what it looks like when you get it out, once you get it out. But on the end here, on the side, like I said, my bike's got pretty low miles, so there's not a lot on there, but you'll see little shavings. This is a magnet on the end right here. Kind of like what you see in some of the transmissions. A few crankcases have it. The Ducati has this. Other motorcycles may have the same too. I don't know, it wasn't on the Kawasaki when I changed it years ago. But anyway, you just want to make sure you get all those little pieces and fragments off of there. Clean it off really well before it goes back in. All right, that's the one tip, and that was also in the manual. Make absolutely sure that you clean that off, that magnet off really well before you put it back in. All right, here we go. All right, so got the plug off, got it clean, let the oil drain out. And like I mentioned earlier, start the bike, let it run a little bit, let it warm up. Then while you're taking the fairing off, it'll cool down just enough that you won't hurt yourself, or burn yourself, I guess you say. And that helps the oil to come out a lot easier, a lot quicker. Still not sure you have to take all the fairing off to get to this. I really don't think so. So something like this is very helpful. Okay, this little bad boy tightens up when you try to loosen it. So it's the way it's made. So you put the filter on there and it'll take the filter right off. It's a great little tool. Works on all kinds of size filters. I mean, I can use this on my F250. Look at that bad boy. You know, all the way down to working here on the motorcycle. This little filter, and the little one's on the Honda that we have. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get the filter off, and then when you put the filter back on, I'm not going to show you all that, but I'll tell you a couple of things. And one thing the manual said, to save having to do a fill or a recheck and a refill after you change the filter, is fill the filter with oil, the new filter that's going in. That saves you that much oil that you may have to put back in to get to the right level. Also, according to the manual, it comes in a 4-liter, that bucket, or that thing of oil I showed you earlier, the bottle of oil there. It comes in a 4-liter because these bikes, almost all of them are about the same. At least all these Ducatis, when I was looking, they're about 3.5 to 3.7, so they're a little less than 4 liters. This thing's 3.7 liters. That's what it says it takes. We'll see. You've got the sight here on the side where you can see your oil level, and then your fill is right up here. So I'm going to go ahead and get the filter off. I'm not going to show putting the whole filter back on, but we'll get it off and see how it goes. Oh, another trick with putting your filter back on, they say fill this one. It's going straight up. Also, around the top of the filter, I might just show you that so you'll see what I'm talking about. Let me grab the filter. Hang on 1 second. Take just a second. I'm just going over here to where my filter is, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. You should do this. You should be doing this too on your cars and everything else. Oh, and I forgot, this K&N, I don't think the original has one. No, it doesn't. This K&N has a place you can actually put a wrench, a regular socket wrench on the back of it. See this right here? You could actually use a regular wrench to get that on and off if you wanted to. Anyway, the seal here. So you're going to take a little bit of the oil that you took out, spread it on that seal. It gives you a really good seal. Hand tighten it and then turn it about a half turn more, and you're usually on. Half turn to 3/4 of a turn more. Get it down tight, then wrench it down, just hand tight, not with a wrench. Wrench it down with your hand, all right? Maybe another half turn, 3/4 turn, give or take, and just make sure it's good and tight, good and hand tight. And then you're in like Flynn. All right, let me get this little bad boy off down here, and we'll get the new one on there and show you what we got. Okay, so one more little thing on your refill cap. There's a little O-ring. Okay, just make sure that O-ring is still nice and soft, hasn't gotten brittle, anything like that. I also want to focus in down here. Get a little sight plug. Oh, bad timing right there. All right, let's try that again. Now that my compressor has finally finished refilling, it's, I don't know. Anyway, just bad timing on that one. So what I was trying to show you is on the sight right here for your oil level, there's 2 marks, no writing it at all. Those little 2 marks to the side. Bottom one, of course, is low, top one is high. So you want the oil to end up somewhere in between those 2 marks. Not off the top and not off the bottom. So, let's see. I've got my funnel in here. I've got the new oil filter on and tightened down. There we go. So I'm going to go ahead and fill her up. See what we got. Alrighty. All right. I think you can probably see. Maybe we can zoom in a little bit more. Well, I guess that's about it. Yeah, about halfway. Looking at it from the top down. Got the oil fill in there. So a couple important things. Now, once you filled it up, let it set for just a little bit. Make sure you don't see any kind of leaks around your drain plug. Don't see any leaking oil around your filter where you put it on in case you kink the seal or something like that. And then before you go to the work of putting all the fairing back on, go ahead and start it up. Let it run for just a few minutes to warm up. Watch the oil, watch the temperature, and then turn it back off. Let it cool down. Make sure your level is still where it belongs. All right. If you didn't fill your filter up like I talked about before putting it on, or if you didn't fill your filter up all the way, there's a good chance you might have to top this off to get your oil back to where it needs to be, okay? So there it is. That's changing the oil on the Ducati 848 Superbike. I think while I've got the fairing off, I'm just going to go ahead up and underneath here, and I'll do a video on this too. We'll finish this up. Underneath here is your air intake. I've got the fairing off. I'll show you how to take the front fairing off, and I might as well go ahead and put some new air filters in there. I've got it apart. Why not? But anyway, for this video, we're just talking about getting the oil change done, and I think you guys can get the fairing back on all by yourself without me doing a demonstration. But once again, 848 Ducati 2008 model Superbike oil change. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Hopefully it'll make it easy on you, save some time by not taking all the fairing off. I think you can do it with just taking the lower parts of the fairing off. And thank you guys for watching. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, it was helpful, please join up and subscribe to the channel. That's always helpful for me, and at least give it a thumbs up. Give me a like on this if it was helpful for you. And right now, with what we got going on across the entire world, y'all be safe out there. Everybody's social distancing now and making sure you don't pick your nose and cough on other people. So just be safe out there and watch yourselves. Everything's going to be okay. All right, y'all have a good afternoon. Bye-bye.